Hello, this is Penny Potter at Carantoc Art, and today I'm going to show you how to make a scarecrow using the template on my Etsy site. So first of all you've got to do is you've got to get the template, cut it out, stick it to some cardboard so you've got some nice strong pieces to cut round, and then roll out some clay to 5mm thick, that's about that thick. You cut most of the pieces out of that, and one piece you're going to cut out of double the thickness, 1cm, 10mm thick, and that's going to be the top of the hat. If you can't got a 1cm thick, don't worry, just roll it out and you can work on it from there. So I've rolled them all out and I've got various pieces here, just out of camera shot, and I'm going to start with bringing in the piece known as the scarecrow base, a starting point. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get the two leg pieces. That's these ones. So two cones basically. 1, 2. And I'm going to score along one edge. This one's cracking a little bit, but it doesn't really matter because this is going to be used as a scarecrow leg. So it doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, if it looks a bit rough, it works even better. So you can see I haven't rolled it particularly well. That's definitely not 5 thick, but it'll do. And then I've got a pot here of liquid clay, which we'd call slip, which I shall put over here. And I'm going to use that as a glue. This is particularly gloopy. I might have to put a bit of water in this in a minute. Things have been drying out so rapidly here at the moment that although this is perfectly liquid 2 days ago, it's now almost a dry lump. So I get some water in there, mix it up, so we've got something nice and slippery. Coat one of the surfaces there, and then I'm going to score down the other side. You can see that's rolled a lot better down there. And then I'm going to curve it round like that, and then get these two faces to come together like that. So we get it at the bottom, and then we sort of zip it up all the way to the top. Okay, so that's one leg. Just shape it a little bit. As you see, it's torn a bit at the bottom, but that's fine. That's going to look really good. And what I'm going to do is inside here, where the join is, I'm going to get a little bit of clay here. I'm going to roll it into a little coil. Let's just move that base a little way over so I don't damage it. I'm going to paint some slip on there, right up there. Put that in. And then I'm going to use my old friend a lollipop stick just to smooth it down, so smooth it onto both sides. In case you're wondering why the clay's a different colour, it's we're still getting mixed bags of clay, so some of this came from our old clay, which has gone a bit reddy. It still fires the same colour, it's just a bit red till it's fired. So do that, join one piece together, that's one leg, and we do the same with the other one. So again, score up that face. The noise you can hear in the background is our dog trying to make herself comfortable. I don't know if there's something in her bed she's not happy about. And then we put a slip up there, like that. And again, bring the two together. So wiggle it, curve it round, join it at the base like that, and then zip it up all the way to the top like that. Don't fold it in completely at the top, leave a hole, so because we're going to need to let air to escape, and the best way to do this is the air is going to escape underneath the body and then out of the coat, so we don't have any unnecessary holes. Do the same again, get a little bit of clay, roll it into a coil. Again, paint slip up inside of there, put the coil in like that, and then we get a tool and we smooth it down. You can hold it in your hand while you do it, or some people like to put it down on the board because you've got something to push against, but I'm holding it in my hand just so that you can see what I'm doing. Okay. And then I'm just going to smooth the back of this, smooth these trousers in like that. the leg. Now, did I do the same on that? No, let's just do that now. Smooth the back of that in. Okay. So they're going to sit on the base like that. So the next job is going to be to fix them. So underside, score. Nice bit of wet slip on there. And then what we do, take that one out of the way for a moment, put it there. So that's going to be the shoe there. So it's going to stick out a little bit. So put it on and then give it a good wiggle to get it on properly. Of course, gravity is your friend here. Try not to smooth that in because you want that sort of gap so that it looks like the bottom of the trousers. We're going to smooth it in at the back if you're wondering how we're going to join it. Let's just do the same with the other one. So slip on it. Put that in position there. So they're side by side. They are going to tip in a little bit, but we'll sort that in a moment. Now we bring it round the back. Smooth that so you can see. There we go. So you see we've got a little bit of surplus clay here. So what I can do with this now is I can stroke it up onto the leg like that. And that's going to make it nice and secure. And because it's at the back, you're not really going to see it. Right, those legs are not coming off now. So I want to bring them in a little bit. So I haven't got them secured. I'm going to bend them in a little bit at the top like that. I'm going to come into his hips. There's a bit surplus there, so I'm just going to work that in there as well. The back of his leg, like that. Okay. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to put his boots on. So we've got some pieces. These are probably going to need to be cut down to size. I probably made these far too big, I have. But that's okay. So we'll cut them down to what we want. I might modify this so that when you get the template, you might find that it's a little bit better shape. It's not quite so big. I've done these the same size as the boots there, which is a little bit overkill. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to nip that off there and see if it'll fit. Perfect. Okay. I want a little bit of overhang, and you'll see why in a minute. So let's repeat that on the other boot. So that's going to go that way around. Nope. Nope. That way. I'll get there in a moment. It's got to fit somehow. There we go. So it's going to go there. No, it's not. It's going to go there. There we go. Right, there we go. Nip that off there. So one boot's going to go there, and one boot's going to go there. Okay, so now I score. Plenty of slip. Now, the problem always is when you're putting up two flat pieces of clay together like this, you've got to be very careful not to get any air trapped underneath that, otherwise your boot will blow apart. So let's just move that out of the way for the moment. So I'm going to put that in place there, and then I'm really going to, starting from the middle, I'm going to work it in like that, and I'm going to fold it around a bit like that to make the edge of the boot like that. That's one boot. Now to repeat with the other piece, so score it. Some people like to use a scoring tool. I do, but I'm assuming that not everybody will have access to a scoring tool, so a knife does the job just as well. Or an old fork. It needs to be a really old fork, because the modern forks, they don't come to a point. It's safety gone mad. So again, wiggle it like that. The older points are sharp. Older forks are sharp on their points, whereas newer forks, they chop the ends off them, so you can't stab anybody with them. Right, work it in like that. So two nice curved boots. Now you can leave the boots like that, or something else you can do is to just use the end of the template to make like little bits to go on the end of the boot if you want to. So I'm going to stick these on. Again, so I'm adding a third layer. So again, be really careful to make sure you do a really good job with scoring. Add some slip. Again, put it in. So this is like the toe cap on the boot. Again, bring it down and around. Make it look like really good hobnail boots he's wearing here. the same on the other boot. So score it, stick it in place on the end of the boot. Again, just manipulate it in, smooth it in to make the end of his boot. Now, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of this surplus clay, which I've got here, and I'm going to cut it into strips, very thin strips like that, to make his bootlaces. Now, you can roll these if you want round bootlaces, or you can leave them flat if you're not very good at round rolling. I am just going to take the edge off them and roll them a little bit. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the end of the paintbrush that's in my slip, and I'm going to make 4 holes on each shoe. 1, 2, 3, 4. The same on the other one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Like that. You can see like that. Then in between the two of them, I'm going to put these little pieces of clay. So let's get my slip on it. And it's going to go in that gap there, like that. And it's going to make like a shoelace. Okay, press that in. Do the same with the next one. Again, cut a little piece of clay. If you're feeling really creative, you can make bows on them. I'm assuming that the bow part of the boot is underneath his trousers. That's because I'm lazy and I don't like doing bows. Do that. Okay, so we've got that now on the bottom of his boot. Do the same on the other side. So be careful not to completely obscure the hole, but you do want to go over it a little bit to sort of look like the lace is disappearing down the hole. Put a bit of slip on there. And in there. Okay. Tuck it in. It might be a little bit long, but I think we can get away with it. There we go. And then the same on there. Again, you could probably get away with not actually making the holes and just putting strips of clay across to make like bootlaces. Entirely up to you. Of course, you don't even have to have bootlaces. So now it looks like he's got a pair of trainers on. So we have a legged figure with boots, but now we need to go a bit further up. So the next bit we're going to work on is we're actually going to make the coat part. So we've got 2 pieces here. I'm just going to move his legs out of view for a moment while we work on the coat. So we do basically have 2 pieces that we're going to join together, but almost curved like that. So a bit like a sort of like a pot. So again, I'm going to, this clay's a little soft, probably would have helped if I dried it a tiny bit, but I'm going to score all the way down there and all the way down there. And score the same on the other side. Note that I'm not scoring the arms at the moment. I'll do those in a minute. So we do that and that, and then we get the 2 pieces together, stand them up, curve that one a little bit, so it'll stand up, get that one curved, and then put them together like that. So we're making his body here. Again, we zip them together like that. And this is probably the hardest bit to do. So what we now want to do is first we're just going to smooth that in, and then we're going to get a coil up on the inside of that. In fact, what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to stand it upside down so it makes it easier to get at. There we go, we can see what we're doing now. So I need to get a coil in that join there. So put one in. This is a bit of a chunky one at one end. Let's make it a bit thinner. Again, a bit of slip up the join. A bit more than that. That was a bit pathetic. Try again. Okay, put that in there. And then, again, using some sort of smoothing tool, my favourite being this lollipop stick, we then work it into the joins, like that. Okay, on one side. So you've pushed out a little bit there, but that's okay, we'll sort that in a minute. I've got a, I don't know if you can see in there, but my coil's a little long, so I'm just going to take some of that out and put it up the other side. I can get at it. Okay, so we'll put some clay up there. Put that in there. Like that. Okay, and then smooth it down. join it, and then the same a bit further up, because that's all only at the bottom there, so we need another piece of clay to put a coil further up. Oops, I'm waving it around, but you can't see me. Let's put it back in the camera. There we go. Okay, so like that. That's my tool. Join it like that, all the way up. Okay. And then smooth the outside. Now when it comes to doing the arms, we're going to need to put something in the arms while we do the build to stop them from ending up being completely flat. So what I'm going to use is a paintbrush. So I'm going to get the paintbrush, I'm going to pull this apart a little bit. I'm going to lay the paintbrush. I need a longer paintbrush. Let's try that. You can use a straw. I've done this with a straw in the past. Paintbrush, whatever. Lay it down. And then what I'm going to do is, before I put that in place, I'm going to score all the way along the edges and slip. Just to get it fixed together. Same there, all the way along. Doesn't matter about this area around the neck, because that's where the head's going to go. So we don't have to worry too much about that, because we're not going to fix that together. Get plenty of it in there. Plenty of slip. Like that. And then using either a straw or a paintbrush or whatever, lay that in there and then curl the arms around it on both sides. So do it on one side, turn it over, curl it on the other, like that. Okay. Then I'm going to join these together with plenty of slip. You shouldn't need a coil because it's only a small area. I'll do the same there. And to be fair, if it comes apart, it's just part of the scarecrow. It's an old coat. Okay, let's do that there. And I'm going to do it on the top. That. And then like that. Okay, and then I'm going to take my paintbrush out. Like that. Okay. So we have the body and the arms. So now we bring our legs back into play. Here. This is going to slot over the top. Now the legs themselves will help to stop it from sliding down too far. So what we're then going to do is we're going to score the legs here. Plenty of slip on. Like that. Nice gloopy stuff. And we're going to slide that over the top. Oop, got a hole forming there. Let's get rid of that. I'll just do when it's on. So we get it on like that. Okay, and then just firm it into the legs. Tighten up his arms. There we go. Right, so he's starting to come together. We have a body, we have legs. The next thing we're going to need is the head. To make the head, I've actually taken a lump, 126 gram lump of clay here, and that's going to go on there. But at the moment, this is completely solid. And if we try to use this, we're going to have some problems. So we have to hollow it out a bit. A couple of ways to do it. If you've got a tool that you can use, then great. If you haven't, you can use a spoon. But try to aim for a teaspoon that's got sort of a fairly sharp end so that you can actually get some of the clay out. Whoop. Like that. Scoop it out. A bit like hollowing a pumpkin. And then when you've got it down to about half a centimetre, then you just get your fingers in there, just smooth out the inside, tuck the neck up a bit. Okay. There we are. We have a head that can go on the body, so that's going to go on there. So I'm just going to bring this out a little bit. Give me a little bit more. Let's tuck that bit in there, that bit in there. So the head is going to go on there. So we score the head all over. Let's just adjust the camera slightly so you can see what's going on here as we start to get bigger. So I'm going to add some slip to the head. And I'm going to put it in position here on the top there. And I'm going to give it a bit of a wiggle. Make sure that it's going to stay put. And where it's gaping a little bit at the side, now I can just tuck that in and smooth it off. Okay, looks like he's got a bit of a polo neck jumper on at the moment, but what I'm then going to do is that's going to be covered up, but I'm also going to smooth it in all the way around to make sure the head stays on. Let's turn it round to the back. Okay, so smooth it down the whoop. Try and smooth it down the back. I think I'm going to need a coil on there to secure it. I'm going to need a coil at the tops of the arms as well because we're gaping a bit there. Let's get in there. He does not want to stay on. Get out there and stay put. You might find that it helps to stuff a bit of newspaper or something like that inside the body just to help to get it. But what I'm doing here is I'm putting the stick inside to brace up the body while I secure the head. Okay, right, now let's go back to that. A bit of slip on there. A bit of clay to secure it. So bring that together. The head doesn't want to stay on, does it? Put that there, into there, smooth it in. And somebody said to me, "This is very peoply for you. You usually do animals." I said, "Yeah, well, this is not a real human. I can cope with that. If you asked me to actually sculpt a real human, we would be in trouble. The makers of science fiction films would be in touch, asking if I could make aliens for them. I'm really not good at real people." There we go. So we've got the main body together, we've got head on. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to make the hat. But before I do, I'm going to give him some hair. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to roll out a bit of clay. And I'm going to put a slip all over his head. Right. And then I'm just going to stick some of these on. Any old how. We don't want him looking too neat. He's a scarecrow, so it's just going to be bits of rough like that. Make sure they're stuck on properly. Okay, a few more coils. You see I'm leaving quite big gaps between them. You'll see why in a minute. Like that. Okay, another one. By there. All the way around. It's got like a spider's landed on his head. But it won't do by the time we've finished. Like that. Okay, make sure that's smoothed in. And then using either the back edge of a knife or something like this. This is, again, this is my favourite lollipop stick. I've cut the end of it into make a pointed end. And we can use this to just push that in. I quite like the wooden effect because it's a bit rougher. And because what we're aiming to look like is bits of straw sticking out. So we don't want it to look too hair-like. So we press it all in like that. You need to get sort of like strands hanging down. Oh, poor fella. So yes, head stayed on. Come on. Pop that body. I knew that body was a bit soft. And it's proving to be so. Okay, there we go. All over. That. So all I want it to do, I want it to look like, I don't really want it to look much like hair, just like bits of straw sticking out, so you can manipulate it around a bit and make it look a bit untidy. Yeah. You see I'm starting to push some of the pieces together on the head so that it doesn't look like 8 pieces of clay just splatted on like that. Like that. There we go. In fact, it would be better off his head. His head at the back looks more like the head at the. That should be the head at the front. I think we need to make a little modification there before we're done. Right. So now the hat. So what I'm going to do before I actually put these two pieces together, I'm going to get the biggest circle. This is the brim of the hat, and I'm going to cut a circle out of the middle of it. Like that. Okay. Then I'm going to get my hat brim, going to score it all the way around the edge. Sorry, my hat's crown, not the brim. Score it all the way around the edge like that. Lots and lots of slip on it. Nice and gloopy. And then we stick it onto there, like that. And then underneath, we smooth that round the hole into that crown of the hat. And then you start to get a bit creative. Because what I'm then going to do is I'm going to get my thumb right in there and I'm going to mould it and shape it. Decide how rough and ready I want this hat. Of course, at this point you can get really creative and do your own hats. You don't have to necessarily follow this one. Just a bit of a weird and wonderful one. Somebody said that it looked like a lady's hat, and it probably was, you know. It's the thing about scarecrows, they're dressed in whatever happened to be lying around. Scarecrows originate from the Middle Ages, just after the plague hit in the UK, when there was no longer a good supply of small children to run and chase the birds off. So farmers started putting mock figures in the fields with tin cans and things hanging off to try and scare the birds off the crops. So, one hat, one head, bring it back. So now we decide how we're going to arrange it. So it could be on the side, it could be straight on the top, it could be anywhere. I'm going to have it, this time it's going to be a little bit there. So you might need to, again, get your fingers in, shape it, make sure that it fits on the head. Like that. Suits me just fine. Now there's likely to be an air pocket trapped underneath the head when you put it on, the hat when you put it on. So make sure when you've decided where your hat's going to go that you make a hole down into the body through there. And I'm just going to make sure that's gone all the way down by pushing a paintbrush through. It hasn't. I can feel that I'm getting resistance. It has now. Right. So the air can escape. There we go. Then I'm going to score the hat. This hat is going to be quite heavy, so if you haven't got that head on properly, you're going to find it's going to fall off. So keep your fingers crossed, and the head will stay on. So let's put that in place there. Right, and then I'm just going to wiggle it around a bit, make it stay. Right, let's just chase his face a bit. I'm going to have to put some more clay around the back. We are collapsing here at the back. See how it's going down? But that's okay, because the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a scarf on him. So I'm going to get some clay, I'm going to roll it again into a coil. I'll move you out of the way a minute so we can do that. So I want it long enough to go right the way around the neck, so I might have to add a bit more to this yet, because that's nowhere near long enough. Don't think. Nope. So let's roll around the piece and then roll them together. Nope, that's not going to work. Too dry, too dry, too dry. You can't really roll a good coil if the clay's too dry. It's just not going to have it. So let's start again. What tends to happen, how you know your clay's too dry, is if it starts to do this sort of thing, where it sort of starts to split open. And that's no good. So, move it out the way so you can see me rolling. So, let's get some clay rolled. You can hear that I've got tension in my hands because I've got square coils. Long, gentle rolls. If you're stressed, your coils will go flat. It's been a long day. That's my excuse. So let's get them round. Don't really mind because I actually want it flat when I'm done. But for now, get it round there like that. So this is going to go around his neck. So this is going to strengthen up the back like that. So lots of slip on this because this clay is drying out quite fast. Get my slip brush, paint lots on it, nice and wet. And then I'm going to put it around the back of his neck, so that's going to strengthen up that section there. Work that in there. But then round the front, come here you, I'm going to thin it out and turn it into a scarf. Have a scarf around his head like that. There you go. Now I'm worried about pushing him down too far hard on his legs. As I say, this body clay is probably a little bit softer than I should be using. So I'm just going to hold him, support it like that while I do it. That's stuck down there. And then I'm just going to make this look more like a scarf, I'm just going to trim it off and put some tufty bits on it, like the end of a scarf. There we go, like that. Next thing I'm going to do then is I'm going to give my scarecrow a face. And being a scarecrow, you can be really basic. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring his cat up a bit so we can see his face. I'm going to use the end of a paintbrush just to push in and make 2 eyes. Like that. Just make him a bit bigger. Make him a little bit scarier. There we go. Then I'm going to get a little bit of clay. I'm going to make like a carrot for his nose. Got to be careful this doesn't end up looking like too much like a snowman. But I'm going to do that. Give him a nice big nose. There we go. Smooth that in. Make sure it's not going to come off. Okay. Then I'm going to use my knife to cut a big happy smile on his face. But then we need to make sure it doesn't fall apart. So then you have to put stitch marks across his mouth. Like that. Okay. Next I'm going to work on his coat a bit. So I'm going to cut the coat. I'll sort of come down here and just line a line down there. And then at the bottom I'm just going to cut that open. Just make it hang a bit like that. Give it a little bit more shape. I'm giving some buttons, so I'm going to get a little bit of clay, roll it into a little sausage. Stand you up a minute, mate. There we go. I'm going to stand there. And then I'm going to cut it into salami slices. Like that. I think I'm going to get 2 buttons on here. So squish them flat, add some slip. Put them on the coat. Give it a little wiggle. Make sure they stick. On there. Just put a button there. Okay. Scarf it. There we go. Right. And then just using the end of the knife or a potter's pin or anything like that, I'm just going to make 2 little holes, which is where the gusset would be sewn on. That. Next we're going to do his hands. So I've got these 2 pieces of clay. These tuck into the sleeves, so you might have to modify the end of the sleeve a little bit with the paintbrush so you can get them in. Put some slip on them, get them nice and gooey. Slot them in there like that, nice and tight. Okay. And there. Same on the other arm. Make sure I can get it in. So again, oh, it should be alright, that should be okay. So you can see there, get the hole, so I put it in the hole and then press everything down onto it, like that. And we're going to make this look like straw as well. So like we did with the head, we get our knife, back end of the knife, or a tool, I'm going to use my tool, and just sort of rough it up so it looks like straw. Maybe chop a bit off at the ends, so to make it nice and rough like that. Same at the other end. There we are. There he is. Bring him into shot. Our completed scarecrow. Okay. So I hope you enjoy making him, and I'll catch up with you again with a new make sometime soon. Bye.